Hey, Lomentini lit up, and as promised, I have got about 30 questions here of people that have just like, hey man, what's going on with this? What's happening with that? And I told you guys I would answer those questions for you. I took that post down because people can't help themselves. I said, ask any kind of question that you want. And you know who you are out there, Troy. You couldn't help yourself but ask dumb questions, stupid questions. And you know what I'm talking about. So there's some people out there that just want to be silly about it. And I thought, hey, you know what better way to bring people up to date? Because what has happened is I've developed a tremendous amount of followers, people that are interested in this recovery of mine, and what has happened and how I've bounced back and how I've gotten through it. And it's not been easy. It's been ugly. It's been glorious. It's been redeeming. It's been a lot of different things. And it continues. And I think it's a lifelong journey to be the best version of you possible. There's some disappointing things. There's a lot of heartache. There's a lot of thrilling things. There's a lot of amazing friendships that have developed out of it. So it's just a big mixed bag of a lot of stuff that is hard to comprehend sometimes, but yet you just one breath at a time, one step at a time. As cliche as it may sound, you know, you may not see the whole staircase, but you see the one step in front of you, and you just got to take one at a time. So, but a lot has happened in this year, and it's almost hard to believe that a year has already almost passed since the whole debacle. And that's one of the questions that a lot of people have been asking me, what exactly happened? And because I've had that several times posed to me, like, I love your Facebook posts. They seem very positive. I love your recovery. I love how you are, you know, involving, you know, in being God first. I love all that stuff. I'm not really sure what happened, but I love what's happened. I love what you're doing. And I'm not going to really go into detail about what happened. If you really want to know what happened, there is a very extensive, very well viewed podcast back in January as well as February. If you just want to scroll through the podcast, go back to January, February, and it will go into pretty good detail as far as what happened. And what happened is I didn't handle it very well. I mean, the loss of a relationship that you adored, a loss of a family that you adored, children, grandkids, dogs, neighborhoods, all the stuff that you just loved was gone like that. And just no explanation, no conversation, nothing. And that's what brings us to one of the other questions that someone has been posing. I keep talking about closure. And what does that look like to you, to me? What does closure look like? Because closure is not what you think it is. It's like, it's not wrapped up and tied off and packaged up like a little present and there's your closure. It's nothing. Sometimes it's absolutely nothing. And that's what's hard to understand, was that you have a relationship, you have something for a long time, and you realize that it wasn't what you thought it was, because it can be just on like that with no closure. And I thought, you know, what does closure look like? Is it something that you sit down with one another and you say, okay, I don't like this anymore, and you do this and I do that, so let's just be not together anymore? Do you want that? Is that the kind of closure you need? But sometimes you have to really understand what closure means to you. What does it look like to you? And I had to come to that realization of, what does closure look like to me? Is it a conversation with her? No, I don't want that conversation. I thought I wanted that conversation with her, but I don't now. Because in light of some things that I've seen, things that I've heard, she's got this amazing, empowered attitude, almost narcissistic way about her, that just, on top of the no closure and just moving on and just cutting things off, making you realize I meant nothing to her. Nothing, not at all. And I think that was some of the hardest part to get through, and why I did what I did in March, because there was no answers. There was nothing for me, literally just shut down, cut off. You mean nothing to me. And here's how I look back at it now, and I realize, wow, I really did mean nothing to her. I did what I did in March. I'm recovering with 200 staples in my throat, in my neck. And that's when the hammer comes down on me the hardest. The divorce papers, this freaking dog of a lawyer, and the things that were in the paperwork were things that were so entrusted. There's so much, such a heavy layer of betrayal. And that's why I don't want to talk to her. That's why we probably will never speak a word to each other ever again, because that level of betrayal that will never allow closure to happen. So I know what closure is for me now. And that closure may come in 6 months. That closure might come in another year from now, but I now know what closure is to me. Because all that time I was just being gaslit as if I was never enough. Constant little bits and bits and over a period of time that just like, wow, maybe that's why everything happened the way it did, because I was just like, maybe I had enough. I don't know. I don't know if we'll ever know. But that's the idea of closure and what it looks like to me. And I'm not going to share that with you because that's just a personal thing of what closure looks like for me. And I'm going to get that closure. Like I said, if it takes 6 months, takes a year, whatever it is, but I will have that closure and then be able to wrap it up and move on. More questions. What's happening with Barcade? Oh, good old Barcade. You guys remember Barcade, don't you? Yes. My claim to fame, my little feather in the hat of things accomplished. And it's my baby, and it's still an actual viable 501c3. And we are slowly working toward getting it from the state of Kansas to the state of Tennessee and where it goes from here, because a lot of the followers that I have are people that I've met along those 7 years traveling all over the country like a gypsy. And so a lot of those people are really hoping that Barcade can still exist. I can still be out there and be able to do it. I don't think it looks like it did then. I don't think it looks like Patrick traveling the country and doing haircuts and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if that's the direction anymore, but that's what got me there. And hair is my love and passion. And so I continue to do that. But where does Barcade fit? How do we make it fit? Before all of this happened, I was so focused and on the Barcade Music Festival, as you know. And does that even exist anymore? Or do we change it in light of things? And so I'm bouncing around here on some questions, but one of the questions is what's going on with the biometric world. And so the idea of, I'll get to that in a second. But as far as Barcade is concerned, it's still alive. I'm still here. And as long as I'm around, Barcade's always going to be around. So what does it look like in the future? That's a big question, and wide open for anybody to respond that, hey, maybe we could take Barcade this direction or that direction or what. Or do I hand it off to somebody else to run it, give them the idea and the vision? And that's probably what's going to happen, is get Barcade into a position to where someone can actually say, you know what, I got some ideas for it. Let's roll. And so I'll always be the founder. I'll always be, the guy that created it. But, maybe it's time for it to go do something else. One of the other questions was, how do you live now? Okay, well, in all transparency and all honesty and all clarity, I am bouncing around because I just haven't found that right mix of what works, trying to find that right balance, because your life got turned upside down and it just doesn't become clear right away. So a lot of hotel rooms. At first I'm not afraid. I was sleeping in the van at the truck stop. So it's a little bit of both. And that's kind of like a little hint of one of the other YouTube channels that we're going to be doing as far as being a nomad. So we got some ideas coming up with that. It should be fun. It's just because I can't take this stuff too serious, because I already tried the whole serious thing and it led me to the wrong conclusion. And as you can see, a beautiful mark that I will have for the rest of my life. And I'm actually not afraid of it, to show it. And it is what it is. So where do I live? Like a nomad. And I know that's temporary. And everything that I'm going through right now it's a season that God wants me to go through. And I had mentioned this earlier on my last little post, was we are all going through something on purpose. And that purpose is what God needs you to go through so he can mold you into the person that he intended you to be. And you can have a beautiful house, a car, and money, and dogs, and all that stuff, and still be miserable. But actually, I'm finding out that I can live with little and be extremely at peace, extreme peace, happiness. And that is what we all should strive for. One of the other questions is, would I go back to her? At first I thought, man, we could fix anything. I was willing to do anything. I was willing to take whatever therapy, whatever I had to do to fix it, fix Patrick so that we could be the best couple, period. But since what had happened to me during recovery, and now looking back at it and how she handled it, what she did to me, the lack of closure, the lack of conversation, the lack of any explanation, it was all through lawyer while I'm recovering, 200 staples in my neck, just a miserable mess. And she put the foot on my throat and crucified me and just choked me out. And the level of betrayal and the things that she disclosed to everybody, that stuff that was so personal and that was something that you discussed with your soulmate and your friend, your best friend, all that was disclosed to everybody else. Just broke my heart. So the answer would most likely be no. No. So why stay in Franklin? That's the next question. Why stay in Franklin? Well, I love Franklin. I came here because of her, but I had never heard of Franklin. So I just love it here. I've been all over the place, Las Vegas, LA, Tampa, Philly, Austin. I mean, just name a city and I probably have been to it. And at one point I was all over the place looking for that place to live, to be happy. And then you soon realize it doesn't matter what zip code you live in. If you're not happy with yourself, it doesn't matter where you are. So why stay in Franklin? Right now, it's just my home. I've built hair clienteles and some friendships for 5 years here. I've been here since 2018. And so why would I want to leave right now? The only other place of consideration is Destin, Freeport, 30A, those areas, because I am right now. People are going to, that's one of the questions I'm getting to, but what am I doing right now? I'm working on my Florida real estate license as well as Kentucky real estate license. And why Kentucky? Well, there's a lot of reasons for Kentucky. So yeah, I'm looking at that, and especially Florida. Florida in the Panhandle reminds me so much of Franklin in the South. It's still part of the South. There's still a lot of friendliness there. There's still that Southern feel. And that's why I really like that. Plus, I've got a great connection down there with my man, Paul. We're going to be doing some business together and most likely possibly living together. He's got a great place there in Freeport. Looking forward to that. So that's one of the answer to one of your questions. Why stay in Franklin? And what do I drive? Currently, I'm still driving the 𝐈𝐭'𝐬. And will I ever get rid of that car? No. Just that was one of the thorny little areas of my relationship with her. She hated that van. And it was such an eyesore to her and her family. And it was just like, whatever, you know, it's part of Patrick, right? It's part of Patrick. So I'll never get rid of it. Soon we'll be buying another car. So that's on the horizon. I've got a couple of ones in mind that I'll probably have taken care of before the end of the year. That'll be nice to move on from the van because she's got 320,000 miles on it. Everything works on her. She's starting to have some issues though, but she needs to go to rehab and get some things fixed and get rewrapped so that she can still be around for new bark adventures. Wow. So these questions are great. What have I learned from all of this? Well, that's a loaded question. What have I learned? I have learned that people are amazingly resilient. The human race, we are so resilient. Our bodies are so resilient. Our bodies are fascinating. You have those, I went and visited a friend that did a home haircut because he's been in the hospital and he's home. He can't hardly move very well. My heart goes out to you, Kevin. But he went through a really rough surgery. He found out he has colon cancer, and there were some mix-ups with his surgery, some mistakes made. He's lucky to be alive. But I look at that and I'm like looking at what I've been through and seeing what he's going through. And it's like, man, we're all in this together. We all are going through something, man. We all are going through something. And the one thing that I love about that dude is that he never questioned his faith of God. It was just the season of something that he had to go through to be a better version of himself. Think about this, man. The guy was a heavy smoker. Now he doesn't give one rat's ass about a cigarette, which is awesome. Doesn't drink. So God bless him. He's probably got another good 50 years left in him or more. But what have I learned? I've learned how resilient we are. I've learned that just because you are comfortable in a relationship doesn't mean that relationship is comfortable with you. Hard lessons to learn. Relationships should not be hard. They should take some work, of course, compromise. That's all part of it, but they shouldn't be hard. And I didn't realize that the relationship that I had was nothing. So I've learned a lot about myself, what I need to do to be the best version of me, things that I need to correct. And that's part of the closure that I was talking about earlier. There were some things that I read in a text that I also have heard that were just so, what's the word? Frickin' evil, so condescending. They were so narcissistic toward me, and it just fuels my fire to be the best version of myself, to prove that person wrong, as well as the whole lot of them, because that's going to be part of my closure, and I will have that closure. How is therapy? That's one of the other questions. How is therapy? I like therapy. Actually, I think a lot of people should go through it. In fact, there's people out there that need it, that can't get it because they can't afford it. And that's one of the problems with American healthcare system. Your care is at the level of what you can afford. Period. I started off in therapy at a very expensive therapy place. I loved it. I did 6 weeks of IOP, intensive outpatient, where you go for 6 weeks. You're there for 4 days a week, 3 hours each day. And it's just group therapy, group talk, learn how to meditate, what things you're going through and how to handle emotions, giving you some emotional tools to work with, your times. One of the things that really always stuck with me from that is that not all emotions need a reaction, which is probably one of my favorite, because often, too often, we make something out of it that there isn't, and we overthink it. So a lot of times you look at it, think of it as a wave of emotions, and then eventually that wave crashes and fades away. And so if you don't we always want to make a decision at the top of that peak of that emotion, and oftentimes make it a lot worse. So therapy is great. So I continue doing therapy once a week. So I went from that expensive place that was like $300 an hour to a state paid place. And immediately the level of care is obvious. But I do have a therapist that I really enjoy her. Michonne, she's great. She's new. I was very fortunate that she's new so I could be consistent, because at first this place is like a first come, first serve. So you just get whatever therapist is on duty. And so I'm like, I need something with consistency so I don't have to repeat my story every time. So it worked out so far, so good. Next question. What is the biometric stuff all about? Okay, so let's get into it real quick. And it's really exciting where this thing's headed. It has really opened a lot of doors for me, and I'm really, really excited about this business opportunity that's going to come our way. So the biometrics. So what happened to me, whenever you're going through something, depression, anxiety, alcohol rehab, drug rehab, I don't know, whatever it is you're going through, usually there's like a support group that you rely on, and that you call if you're having trouble. Hey man, I'm having trouble, thinking about drinking, doing whatever it is that you're doing. It's a support group. And that's the whole idea of this whole thing. I'm not the first to it. I'm just trying to be 10% different and just try to make it and mold it toward what happened to me so I can help other people not get to that level. It's all about crisis prevention. So the biometrics, it's like a ring, the Aura ring, or you've got the Fitbit watch, or you got other things that you can wear that keep track of various vitals, like your heart rate variable, your breathing habits, your sleeping habits, your body temperature, your heart rate variable. I just said that. And various other things that you can develop an algorithm to develop crisis or prevention. So basically what we're trying to accomplish here is, and I know there's already a group out there called INVI, INVI, it's an acronym for making the invisible visible, and they really focus on the veteran market, PTSD, because the level of suicide in the veteran arena is just ridiculous, and it's out of control. So what we're doing is taking these biometrics and allowing the support group to be able to see how Patrick's doing. And it's not really, we don't want to focus on, hey, we want you to wear this ring so you don't kill yourself. We want to focus on, we want you to wear this ring so that you can be the best version of yourself possible and keep track of your own vitals. And we're just going to keep track, watch you from afar. And if we see something out of whack, sometimes you won't see yourself something out of whack. You don't realize, hey, man, I have so much anxiety, so I don't notice it all the time, but we can tell that you're kind of freaking out a little bit, whether or not it's the heart rate variable, your breathing pattern, or the fact that you haven't slept good in 3 days, because it keeps a sleep score. So that's the stuff we're talking about. And so bringing that into the marketplace to be the best version, because a lot of people are using this biometric stuff now and in life coaching. A very good friend of mine, Brian, who has really kind of helped me steer my idea in the right direction. He's using it in the medical field with doctors, high-level nurses and doctors and stuff like that to prevent burnout, because that's how things develop into unfortunate suicidal allergies, because you get depressed, you have a lot of anxiety, you don't sleep well, that causes burnout. Then you start thinking stupid. And then you start thinking about hurting yourself, harming yourself. Why am I doing this? Why am I pushing myself so hard? So that's what the biometric world is all about. That's the thing that I'm dealing with right now. That's the stuff that we're planning on doing together. I'm just burying myself in the work and understanding it, understanding the whole concept of, depression, anxiety, and also there's a lot of nonprofits out there that are out there to try and prevent suicide. So we're going to just blast it, get it out there. And so the other thing that's developing from it, which is I'm super excited, you guys are probably, I don't know, you're going to see me out there in the speaking circuit a lot. There's a lot of people out there that are alcohol and drug rehab people that are out there speaking about their journey, speaking about their recovery, speaking about their testimony. But very few people are out there talking about suicide and suicide prevention, suicide recovery, and all of those things. So it's a little bit of a different subject, not as big of a market as it's a niche market. And I'm excited to bring it out into the marketplace so that people can talk about it, because depression and anxiety is everywhere. It's not a racist. It doesn't care how old you are. It doesn't care how young you are. It doesn't care what color you are. It will get you, and it will drive you crazy. So there are ways to fix it. There are ways to deal with it. There are ways to monitor it. And that's what I'm going to be about. So we're going to get out there, and first of the year, we're going to be out there just getting in front of people and talking about it. So I'm excited about that. What are some other questions? What is your workout routine? I don't know why I've always called it the Jenny Craig workout, because I'm a big circuit trainer. I was all about the weights at one time, pushing the weights, heavy weights, building the body, that kind of stuff back when I was dancing. By the way, that's one of the questions that my friend Troy couldn't help himself ask, was about the dancing and the stripping. I used to be a male exotic dancer at one time, and that was a big discussion and a big problem early on with my relationship with her, because, it's all over Google and you can find my pictures, and they were having a problem with it. And so by the time we got through all that and everybody loved each other, this happened. So anyway, what's my workout routine now? So I've incorporated boxing. You guys all saw, if you follow me, you guys saw I did the Tough Mudder, and I was weighing 216 pounds then. I have lost 20 pounds. I'm down to 196. I love it. I think I need to be a little bit 198, 196 in that area. I love that look and that feel. I feel a little bloated higher than 210. So that's my workout routine. I do a lot of cardio, a lot of jumping rope now, and just do a little bit of everything. Push-ups, pull-ups. I'm starting to do burpees now. Just do a lot of different stuff, a lot of core stuff. I kind of really got into the whole flipping the tractor tire and doing the ropes and doing all that kind of core stuff, but CrossFit stuff. And yeah. How long will I keep that van? I think I've already answered that question. I will keep that van forever. What are my long-term plans? What is Patrick's long-term plan? And that kind of goes into, that's a different question. I'll ask that later. What is my long-term plans? Well, my long-term plan right now is to get past what's happening here. There are some loose ends, some legal stuff that still has to be tied off with her and that incident back in January. hopefully it's coming to a decision on December 6th. That's the next court date, the next and final court date to just kind of put this all behind us. And so what does Patrick have to do for the next year to tie that off and be done with it? So we'll know here soon. One of the frustrating things that I've been going through, especially now with this Thanksgiving holidays, I still don't know. And part of that, what I mentioned earlier, as far as some of the text that I read and some of the things that I've heard, that there might be some things that I have to do that I'm not willing to do. So, and I have yet to hear from my lawyer. I called her so many times and texted her assistant so many times. She's in court. I know she's in trial. She promised to get a hold of me before Thanksgiving, so I wouldn't be thinking about it over Thanksgiving. But that has yet to happen. So I called again this morning. Hopefully we'll find that out and be done. So one of the questions is our recovery, is it court ordered or are you doing it on your own? It's a little bit of both. So what happened in January was between me and my wife. And then my situation in March was me creating an absolute mess and pulling an O.J. Simpson here in Williamson County and committing suicide. And people are going to say suicide attempt because you're still alive. That is very true. But I did commit it. And because of all that, created a lot of fiasco in Williamson County. So I am dealing with the agreement to find help, be in recovery, go to therapy, and all of that stuff in Williamson County is now, washed good, clean, done. So only 6 more months of that, and I can put all that behind me. So that's the next thing, is to hopefully whatever they got going on in Murray County with her, we can just tag it on to whatever I'm doing in Williamson County, and we can just all be going on our merry way. Will I ever date again? Oh boy, that's a question, isn't it? What's amazing to me is that she's already doing that. I actually meant nothing. That to be able to just go on and be with another person, it's just, I'm not ready for that right now. Yeah. So it's not something I'm interested in. Of course I will at some point. I will be with someone, and there is someone out there. She just doesn't know it yet. There is somebody out there for you. Like my grandfather used to say, there is an ass for every seat. Someone will sit in your seat soon enough. So we'll see. So answering that question, there you go. What other questions do we have? I think we've covered quite a bit here, guys. I try and keep these podcasts within the 20-minute limit, because anything longer than that, people get a little like, okay, I'm tired of listening. But those are some questions. That's what's happened. Like I said, go back to the podcast back in January and February, and that'll let you know. God, it's hard to believe that January, February is just around the corner, and a whole full year has just 2023 go away. I'm ready for 24 and focusing on what I need to do to just be that guy. And I want to specifically ask you all to subscribe to the channel so that you can see what we got going on next. Paul and I got some more stuff that we're going to be doing together. We've got some other great interviews coming up with some great, everything from real estate to therapy to suicide prevention, you name it, we're going to be talking about it. So that's all about Lomatini Lit Up, and that's why I am here to help you, help others not go through what I went through. There is a great life out there. Sometimes we just don't realize it. We get all comfortable. We get all wrapped up into our own little world, and we don't realize what's going on around us because we let outside influences dictate who we are and not being the real you. And so my little quote and my saying is to be you unapologetically. Unapologetically be you.